There was an article over on Den of Geek recently. Does Star Trek still need to be a movie franchise? The eternal debate. There hasn't been a Star Trek theatrical movie in more than 9 years. Will there ever be one again? I think it's a very interesting discussion and a good topic for a video actually. Be sure to check out the article for yourself. There is a section of the fan base that believes Star Trek is best suited for the small screen, and I have to say I am one of them. Star Trek began as a television series in the 1960s and did 3 seasons, and although it would return in 1979 with Star Trek the Motion Picture, an additional 5 original series films would follow. The second live-action series, The Next Generation, would air in 1987. Their first film, Generations, would be released a few months after the show ended in 1994. In the 6th season of Next Generation, Deep Space Nine kicked off. Voyager would replace TNG and then would run concurrently with DS9 while the Next Generation crew made movies. The final film of the golden age of Star Trek was Star Trek Nemesis, which aired during Enterprise's 2nd season. The Kelvin timeline films, which began in 2009, were designed to be radically different in tone and visuals and style to everything that had gone before in the franchise. The first film was a decent enough success and appealed to non-fans. The following 2 films, despite making a lot of money, Into Darkness and Beyond, didn't make the kind of profit the studio wanted. And I would say they were generally bad movies. Into Darkness played well with the pew 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 crowd, people who like mindless action that's thrown at you at such a fast pace, you barely have time to take a breath and process the fact that there's galaxy-sized plot holes in the dreadfully written story. And Star Trek Beyond had a sequence where the crew defeat a swarm of spaceships using a Beastie Boys song. Enough said. Oh, and lest I forget, Star Trek's first TV movie was Section 31. I'm not talking about that abomination again, and it doesn't count anyway because it wasn't a theatrical movie. I'm going to get more into this topic right after this. Now, there's something I want to get into before we go very much further. I got a phone call the other day from a robotic voice claiming to be from my bank, and I could tell right away that it was fake, but it was still annoying, and I get these kinds of calls a couple of times per month or so, and the voice claimed that there was a problem with my bank account and that I needed to supply my login details. This was obviously a scam, and I hung up, which is exactly what you should also do. But the problem is, I'm left wondering, how the heck did someone get my mobile phone number in the first place? Well, it turns out when you Google your name or your email, you might be very surprised and disturbed to discover that there might be some private information out there that you never intended to be online. You see, there are these companies called data brokers who get a hold of your info online and sell it to marketers and scammers, and that's the reason your email inbox is often full of spam. That's why you get phone calls from scammers. Getting your info removed from these data brokers and cleaning up your online footprint can be done, but it takes time and it's often long-winded on purpose, and it's a major pain, which is why I'm very happy to let you know about today's sponsor for this video, Aura. Aura is a data and identity protection company. They look after all of your private information online, and they remove it if you wish, and they help you manage your privacy and prevent online theft of your identity. They make sure that only the information about you that you want online is out there. What's great about Aura is that I don't have to sign up for a bunch of different online privacy systems. Aura handles everything in a unified platform. They alert you if your email or phone number has been found online. They'll provide fraud alerts for your credit card or bank account, and they offer 24/7 monitoring along with robust antivirus protection, VPN, and round-the-clock support. So cut out those unwanted scam calls, block those spam emails, and protect your personal data. Sign up to Aura for free for 14 days by using my link in the description box, and during that period, they'll help you find all the sites where your personal info has been exposed. Visit aura.com/Dave Cullen and get proactive about securing your data online. So anyway, 13 Star Trek films were released in the cinema. And although I really liked the first 10 especially, even the weaker ones have some positives, I have to put on my average cinema goer hat here and look at them objectively. The motion picture is my favourite Star Trek film, but it's not for everyone. It received mixed reviews at the time and was considered slow and plodding. Wrath of Khan is considered a sci-fi classic and was critically acclaimed even at the time. Search for Spock has a special place in my heart because it's actually the first film I ever remember seeing. But it is the awkward middle child between Wrath of Khan and The Voyage Home. Star Trek IV The Voyage Home played well with general audiences and is considered a bit of a crowd pleaser. Final Frontier was a box office bomb, but it has that kind of it's so bad it's kind of good thing going on, you know what I mean? Star Trek VI The Undiscovered Country is considered a return to form and a great farewell for the original series crew. The 4 Next Generation films are a mixed bag, with First Contact generally considered the best, Generations usually in second place, although sometimes it's Insurrection. Insurrection and Nemesis are considered below average. I'm not a fan of Insurrection, though I will praise its solid and consistent pacing. I really dislike the story. I like how Nemesis tried to be a serious, darker film, but it ended up with a weak story. It's an unbalanced film from a pacing perspective, with a very slow start, and all the action is crammed at the end. My point is, regardless as to whether you like all or most of the Star Trek films, as I do, generally, the most financially successful and critically well-received were Star Trek II, IV, VI, First Contact, and 2009. That's 5 out of 13 films. Most of the rest of the films received mixed to positive reviews, and although most of them made their money back, Star Trek V and Nemesis didn't, with Nemesis being critically panned. When you think about it, 5 films being considered good to great out of a total of 13, it's not exactly an amazing return. Again, this isn't my opinion as a fan. I'm merely citing the general consensus of critics and moviegoers. As a fan, my favourite films are Motion Picture and Star Trek III, so it's all subjective at the end of the day. But it is true that Star Trek has fared better on television than on film. That's kind of its natural habitat. It was more suited to episodic storytelling, where a variety of different types of standalone stories could be told from week to week. The show could do a hard sci-fi action episode, and then maybe next week a political allegory, a moral or ethical issue, a light-hearted story, a holodeck episode, time travel, you name it. With a film, you don't have that kind of variety. You have to focus on a single tone, a single story, and a single theme, and so the very thing that was the unique selling point of Star Trek, variety, is missing in a film. Paramount wanted a big film franchise with Star Trek, but during those first 10 films, the franchise had a global but niche audience. The budgets were relatively modest. Films had to be made with a lot of reuse and redressing of sets from the TV series, and the box office profit margins were usually modest. Never once has a Star Trek film grossed over $500 million, which is kind of amazing considering how well known Star Trek is, and that there's been 13 attempts to achieve that. So from 1979 to 2016, 13 Star Trek films were made, and what we learned from that is, yes, a Star Trek film franchise can work, but don't expect a billion-dollar franchise like Transformers or the MCU or Star Wars. Expectations have to be kept realistic, because even though Star Trek has a worldwide following, it has a core dedicated fan base. They'll probably show up at every movie released, but Star Trek does have less general audience appeal when compared to something like Star Wars. Star Wars has only relatively recently become a TV franchise, having primarily been film-based since its inception, whereas Star Trek is first and foremost a TV franchise, but with a secondary film franchise alongside it. As you've no doubt noticed from this video, when discussing live-action Star Trek on television, I've focused only on the golden age from 1966 to 2005, and I've ignored Star Trek Discovery, Picard, and Strange New Worlds, because with the exception of the final season of Picard, to me, those shows are mostly terrible and feel very divorced from the rest of the franchise. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit the notification bell to be notified of future updates. Take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.